WWE could be in some big trouble, and I'm going to tell you why fans of the company and the company itself should be a little concerned about its immediate future. Bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. I'm Omer for Real Take Wrestling. Let's get right into it. So, WWE is coming off of one of their best months, best quarters, best time ever as a company. Not only did they have one of the biggest and most successful WrestleManias of all time, they also had the biggest news that the company could probably ever announce, that being the sale, the final sale to Endeavor and the merger with UFC, which no one really ever saw coming, but yet here we are and it's happened. And when we're at a point where we should be rejoicing and we should be happy because now WWE has all these new possibilities, has all these new avenues of revenue and whatnot that they can explore, there is one thing that is bugging me and I can't seem to escape it, and that is the fact that I don't think that the people in charge of WWE right now are best for business, and I don't think that they're going to be able to optimize the company. Nay, I think they're going to be holding it back, and I don't mean Nick Khan. I don't necessarily mean Triple H. The people I mean are the old heads in the room. We all know who they are. Bruce Pritchard, Michael Hayes, and of course, the one, the only, the head honcho himself, Vince McMahon, who was ousted just last year after these allegations of absolutely disgusting things came forward about him. Yet he's still in charge of the company. He's still the vice chairman of the company, or the chairman, I should say, of the company. And he stays on with creative input when it's been reported that people like Candice LeRae and Doudrop have had entire segments dropped multiple times that they were in because of Vince McMahon rewriting the scripts of Raw at the last second. So, of course, I say this knowing that the shows have been more or less better than when Vince McMahon was originally in charge. But it really does come down to this. WWE, whether fans want to admit it or not, is a content creator. And yes, they are going to make a boatload of money, regardless of how good or bad the content is, because they have that fan base. Like, it's one of those things. DC, for example, the DC Comics, they can make 1 million DC movies, right? They can make 1 million DC movies, no matter how crap they are, and some of them have been absolute garbage, and we know that. They're still going to make money, and they still always make money. No matter how bad that Justice League movie was, all y'all went out and watched it. All the DC fans, all the hardcore comic book fans went out and watched that movie and then complained about it on the internet, which is exactly what people do with professional wrestling, whether they like it or not. You know damn well the opinions are going to be out there. People are going to watch. So the issue is not whether or not people are going to watch. There's always going to be an audience for something like WWE. It's too ingrained in the culture. It's too much of a forget like insider thing. It's a pop culture thing. Like, people know at least what WWE is. They know what wrestling is. But on the contrary, right? And then this is where it's important. You can make crap and you can make money off of crap, but you can make a whole lot more money off of putting out great content. You can make a whole lot more money by putting out things that people want to see, things that your fans want to see, putting out more merchandise your fans want to buy, by pushing the wrestlers that your fans want to see in storylines that your fans are entertained by. Yet here we are, and they don't seem to be doing that. Nay, I think they're going backwards, because we're seeing the same patterns that persisted throughout the last few years of Vince McMahon's reign. We're seeing rematches on Raw and SmackDown. We're seeing rules set like the WWE draft and then immediately broken with, like, Natalya this week did an interview where she said, you know, the cool thing about the WWE and the WWE draft is I could be drafted to Raw or SmackDown and I can appear on both shows. And that's so cool. And I'm like, no, it's not, because then you're undermining this very rules that you set out. And we should also not ignore the elephant in the room, right? We have some contracts coming up for WWE, some very significant contracts, like Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre's deal is done later on this year, and Wrestling Observer newsletter just indicated that he's likely on his way out, and that's the indication that they're getting. They're not anywhere close to a contract, to coming to terms, I should say, on a contract. And I know this is far out, and I know that people are going to scoff at this, but Becky Lynch's contract is coming up next year. And you can laugh at me all you want, but a year in sports terms, a year in wrestling, that ain't that much time. We're like, Cody Rhodes debuted a year ago in WWE, or returned, however you want to phrase it. He returned a year ago. And that time's going to fly. Eventually, that contract's going to be up. And it's going to be up sooner than you think. And if you're telling me within the next year, at a time where Endeavor, the company that just bought WWE, is going to be making budget cuts, going to be making some significant decisions that's going to affect the roster. Like, remember this, whenever there's a big acquisition, there's always going to be cost cutting. And sometimes it's going to be cost cutting in ways that people don't like it. For example, I was talking about comic books earlier. After the Warner Brothers Discovery merger happened, they scrapped the entire movie after they filmed it. So you don't think like they're gonna be like, well, you know, we could always make a new star, right? And say that. And you know, I'd feel a lot more confident, right, in them making new stars if they didn't have the people who have a track record, right, that of over at least the past decade that ain't great. A track record that's absolute garbage. I would feel a lot better if you had Triple H in charge of creative fully. I would feel a lot better if you had Shawn Michaels having creative input. I would feel a lot better if Triple H got to pick his team. Well, maybe outside of Road Dogg, right? But I would just feel a lot better about the direction of the company. I would feel a lot better about the direction of the content they're creating. And I would feel a lot better as a fan watching the product. Because right now, it's a bit of a roller coaster. WWE did some of their best TV ever with the Bloodline and the Sami Zayn stuff, and now it just seems to be weird. And maybe it's the post-Mania thing, like this always happens with WWE post-Mania. They have a bit of a lull, but there's ways to book around that, and I can 100% tell you that they could book way better than they're booking right now. And going back to the contract thing, because I didn't even finish up that. The reason why this contract thing is so important, and I even mention it, is because there is an alternative that wrestling fans can go to. There is an alternative that wrestlers can go to. That's AEW. And you want to scoff at me about that? This is a company that, as of this recording, has sold 60,000 tickets to a major show they're running. A week before a pay-per-view they're running. This isn't even like a legit pay-per-view. No matches have been announced. Not a single match has been announced. And they've moved 60,000 tickets in a matter of like a week. That's big. I don't care what the situation is. I don't care what the circumstances are. That is big, especially considering the fact that they haven't even announced the match. They are a viable alternative. They are not going to beat WWE. They are not going to take over WWE. They are not going to put them out of business, but they can take some business away and they can create some new business. And that's exactly what they've been doing. So if you don't think that if Becky Lynch or Drew McIntyre gets lowballed in the contract negotiations with WWE, you don't think that they can go and be like, hey, Tony Khan, would you like to have me on your wrestling show? And Tony Khan's not going to be like, do I want Drew McIntyre on my wrestling show? Do I want Becky Lynch, Becca Donald, whatever you want to call her, on my wrestling show? Of course you do. Of course you do. That's why you take them. They're free agents. It's no different than if Tom Brady, right? When Tom Brady became a free agent, it's no different than that. Like, it's not one of those things like,
Oh my God, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just taking in New England Patriots own players, Patriots South.
right? No. You're taking the best players available to try and get business. That's what it's all about. Making money, getting business. And I don't think that WWE right now is in a position to optimize it because of the current creative team. That's my take. I want to hear from you, though. Let me know what you think. Is WWE in a great creative direction? Is it in a bad creative direction? Is it kind of in the middle? Do you really not care? Let me know in the comment section below if you haven't already done so. By the way, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Until next time, keep it real.